There's a lie we've all been fed, spoonful by toxic spoonful. A woman sitting alone must be broken. Society says it with a smile, like handing you a fruitcake laced with arsenic. Poor thing, they whisper, as if solitude were a medical diagnosis. Welcome, dear friends, to Buddhist Wisdom for the Elderly, where we don't politely nod at nonsense. We laugh, bow, and quietly set it on fire. Today we disagree, loudly and with great affection. A woman sitting alone isn't a tragedy, she's a revolution. In this new video, we're going to dive into the tiny daily betrayals you don't even notice. The little lies you've been taught about love, loneliness, and living halfway awake. Lessons you could be learning every morning with your tea. If only someone dared to point them out. Stick around, because the part you cannot afford to miss is when we uncover the ghost town phase. That sacred, awkward silence where you realize most people loved your neediness, not your wholeness. Knowing this will save you decades of chasing applause in empty rooms. For every part, we'll unpack the myth, why it hurts, a real story, and what Buddhist wisdom says to do instead. If you find even one piece of yourself in these stories, please like and subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers and fuel our mission to create more gentle, rebellious wisdom for every soul growing older and freer. Let's step into the stillness together. Part 1. Living alone isn't a failure, it's a graduation ceremony. Most people think when a woman lives alone, it's because something went wrong. No wedding bells, no fairy tale ending, no casserole dishes passed down through generations. But what if it's the opposite? What if living alone wasn't a failure? What if it was a secret ceremony that the world forgot how to celebrate? Imagine this. Life hands you a diploma. Not when you buy a house, not when you find the one, not when you meet some arbitrary milestone, but when you finally stop needing a witness to feel real. Welcome to the real graduation day, my friend. No awkward hats, no forced family photos, just you standing under a very big, very ancient sky, the one that's been clapping for you long before you ever asked it to. Because here's the unsweetened black coffee truth. The world teaches women that being chosen is the finish line. Find man, the right approval, the right Pinterest wedding, and you've made it. Never mind whether you're happy, never mind whether you're free. Buddha, sitting under his Bodhi tree, would probably just raise an eyebrow and say, still clinging, are we? Because real freedom isn't being picked. Real freedom is realizing you were never a fruit on anyone's tree to begin with. You are the whole orchard. And guess what? Orchards don't beg for visitors. They bloom whether someone notices or not. That woman who lives alone? She's not stuck. She's not broken. She's not waiting for a love story to rescue her from the terrifying monster called herself. She's walking a sacred, awkward, often hilarious path that the world doesn't have good greeting cards for. Congrats on surviving another year without lowering your standards isn't exactly a bestseller at Hallmark. And here's the Buddhist twist. In solitude, the self isn't lost. It's found, again and again, inside the deep quiet that scares everyone else away. Solitude isn't the absence of love. It's the stage love walks onto when the audience finally stops demanding a performance. So no, she's not living alone because she failed. She's living alone because she graduated from needing constant applause. She's practicing the kind of presence that monks take entire lifetimes to master, except she's doing it with a leaky faucet, a Wi-Fi bill, and a neighbor who still thinks, "Are you seeing anyone?" is polite small talk. Welcome to the real ceremony, the one where you walk across a stage no one sees and realize you never needed an audience anyway. Part 2, the silent revolution, when women become their own home. They told her to find a good man. They told her to build a happy home. They forgot to mention, you can live in a mansion and still feel homeless. And so, somewhere along the way, after a few heartbreaks, a few unfinished love songs, a few nights wondering if she was the broken one, she stopped looking for someone else's house to move into. She decided to build her own. But not out of bricks and Instagrammable wallpaper, out of silence, out of the kind of peace you have to dig through 30 years of noise to find. You see, when Carl Jung talked about facing the shadow, he didn't mean putting on better makeup and pretending everything was fine. He meant going into the dark basement of yourself, The place where loneliness, fear, jealousy, guilt, and all the awkward furniture of your psyche sit gathering dust and deciding not to rent it out to anyone else. She did that. She climbed down into the basement. She faced the cold chairs, the unfinished conversations, the missed calls she never got closure from. And she didn't decorate it. She didn't put up an inspirational poster that said, "Live, laugh, love." She just stayed. Stayed until the ghosts realized they weren't going to scare her anymore. Buddhists call this taking refuge. Not outside, not in temples, not even in other people, but in the steady flame that never left your chest even when you forgot it was there. That's what she built. Not a dream house, not a Pinterest board, a soul home. Messy, scratched up, sacred. And the funny thing about building a soul home, it's incredibly unattractive to people who only want a vacation rental. The men who needed someone to mother them, they moved along. The friends who only liked her when she was emotionally available 24/7 like a human Starbucks, they drifted too. The world that once cheered for her to put herself out there suddenly fell very, very silent. Good. Let it be silent. Silence is where the real revolution brews. Because the truth is, and you won't find this printed on a Valentine's Day card, it's dangerous to love yourself enough not to settle. It terrifies people who are counting on your neediness to keep them warm through their winters. It's funny, in a dark, cosmic way. They told her to work on herself, until she actually did. And then she became too much, too picky, too distant. Translation, too self-sufficient to be emotionally blackmailed. Building her own home wasn't about becoming unapproachable. It was about finally having a place to sit down and breathe without asking permission first. In Buddhist teachings, home isn't a place. Home is where your feet are. Home is when your soul is not begging for rent inside someone else's chest. So when you see her sitting quietly, smiling faintly to herself, know that you're witnessing something rare. Something the noisy world can't quite explain. A woman who doesn't live inside anyone else's weather. She carries her own seasons now, and whatever storm rolls across the horizon, she knows exactly where her shelter is. Inside. Part 3. Why she scares the system and makes Tinder stock drop. There's something oddly hilarious about it. A woman finally figures out how to be happy by herself, and somehow everyone else loses their minds. It's like she walked into a dinner party where everyone agreed, without signing anything, that the goal of life was to pair off, settle down, and pretend loudly enough to drown out the loneliness. And there she is, alone at the table, swirling her wine, smiling like she knows something they don't, because she does. The truth is, society was never built to handle people, especially women, who don't need it. Needing is the glue that holds fragile systems together. If people stop needing approval, praise, validation, and birthday texts from people they secretly resent, the whole emotional economy collapses. Buddha knew this too. He taught that the root of all suffering was attachment, to people, to outcomes, to ideas of who we think we're supposed to be. In modern times, attachment just wears better outfits. It comes dressed up as dating apps, likes, matching wedding Pinterest boards, and worried aunts asking why you're still single. Spoiler, your aunt doesn't actually care about your happiness. She just doesn't know how to explain you at family reunions. You see, a woman who doesn't cling is bad for business. She won't swipe endlessly. She won't buy self-help books titled, "How to Make Him Regret Losing You in 7 Easy Steps." She won't sign up for subscription services that sell her manufactured self-worth at $19.99 a month. She just lives. And that's terrifying, because the system can only sell you solutions if it first convinces you you're broken. What happens when a woman realizes she's not broken? Sales go down, panic goes up. Somewhere, a Tinder executive sheds a single tear. But here's the real kicker. It's not just men or corporations that get nervous. It's other women too. Women who still think love means being chosen, being needed, being claimed like the last sale item on a Black Friday shelf. Watching someone live freely without those chains feels like betrayal to the unhealed parts inside us. It whispers, maybe I didn't have to settle after all. And nothing unsettles the human ego faster than the realization that the prison door was never actually locked. This woman, the one who laughs alone in cafes, who fixes her own leaky faucet while muttering Buddhist koans under her breath, she isn't flipping society the bird, at least not consciously. She's simply being. And in a world addicted to approval, being is an act of defiance. Carl Jung would say that she has stopped projecting her worth onto others and reclaimed it from within. In Buddhist terms, she stopped chasing the illusions of samsara, the endless hamster wheel of, if only I had X, then I'd be enough. She's not rebellious, she's just free. And freedom, real freedom, not the kind you can hashtag, has always scared the ones still wearing invisible handcuffs. It's not her loneliness they fear, it's her peace. Because peace can't be bought, it can't be seduced, it can't be sold in bulk on Cyber Monday. It just is. And for those who have built their entire identity on chasing external validation, the existence of a woman who doesn't need it feels like a personal attack. It's not. It's just a mirror. And sometimes mirrors are the most violent weapons of all. Part 4. Not bitterness, but better taste. The world loves a good villain origin story. So when a woman starts saying no, when she leaves the party early without explaining herself, when she raises her standards until the air gets thin, people assume she must be bitter. Cold, angry, probably secretly crying into a glass of Chardonnay at night, right? Wrong. She's not bitter. She just developed better taste. You don't call someone bitter for refusing to eat spoiled food. You don't call a monk bitter because he stops drinking from a poisoned well. But for some reason, when a woman stops swallowing half-hearted love, society gasps like she just kicked a puppy. Let's be clear. Bitterness is what happens when you expect sugar and get salt. Better taste is what happens when you finally learn to check the label before eating. Carl Jung would say she integrated her shadow. She stopped blaming others for not fulfilling her needs and started taking responsibility for choosing better. Buddhism would say she learned discernment without aversion. You don't have to hate the spoiled milk. You just don't have to drink it anymore. Here's the funny part though. The ones calling her bitter? They're the ones who used to benefit from her lack of boundaries. The guy who thought ghosting her 3 times was a spiritual journey. The friend who only called when her own life fell apart. The family member who mistook her silence for eternal patience. They all got evicted when she upgraded her internal real estate. And eviction notices aren't personal, they're just overdue. You see, she didn't build a moat around herself to be dramatic. She built it because she finally realized not every barefoot traveler deserves a key to the kingdom. In Buddhist psychology, there's a beautiful term, metta. It means loving kindness, but not stupid kindness. It's not the kind of kindness that lets everyone walk all over you and then thanks them for the experience. It's the kind of kindness that says, I wish you well over there. The truth is, better taste costs you a lot. It costs you noisy dinners with people who don't actually hear you. It costs you pretend relationships built on convenience. It costs you the addictive thrill of being needed for all the wrong reasons. But what you get in return? You get yourself, whole, unedited, gloriously inconvenient to the systems that hoped you'd stay soft and starving. It's not easy. Sometimes she misses the old days, the automatic invitations, the easy approval, the feeling of belonging. But then she remembers. Belonging isn't belonging if you have to amputate parts of yourself to fit. Real belonging feels like breathing, not gasping. And so when people whisper that she's cold now, hard now, closed off now, she smiles quietly, the way you do when you know something they don't. She's not hard. She's not cold. She's not bitter. She's just done drinking emotional battery acid and calling it tea. And if that confuses people, if it makes her circles smaller, her nights quieter, her mirrors clearer, so be it. She didn't come here to collect admirers. She came here to remember herself. Part 5. The real battle isn't finding love. It's surviving peace. Here's the part nobody warns you about. When you finally stop chasing attention, stop auditioning for crumbs, stop contorting yourself into emotional origami for people who wouldn't even water houseplant properly, you don't automatically float away on a cloud of enlightenment. First, you crash into something worse, peace. And peace, it turns out, is terrifying. You thought you were fighting to find love. You were actually fighting to survive your own silence. Because silence doesn't clap for you. Silence doesn't text you back. Silence doesn't slide into your DMs and say, hey beautiful, I love your self-growth. Silence just sits there, unimpressed, waiting to see if you'll twitch first. In Buddhist philosophy, there's a term for this, dukkha. The endless suffering that comes from craving, from wanting to constantly be stimulated, entertained, distracted, loved. The modern translation? The itch to check your phone every 30 seconds even though no one is texting you. The truth is, the human brain is a drama addict. It craves noise, conflict, a problem to solve, a crisis to manage, anything to avoid meeting itself in a quiet room. It's why people who finally get the peace they prayed for often immediately blow it up. They ghost the new good man. They pick a fight with a stable friend. They binge-watch TV shows about other people's disasters. Because facing yourself without a buffer is like going camping inside your own mind. And guess what? The campfire stories are all about you. That woman who lives alone? She faced the bonfire. She sat through the awkward silences where no one clapped. She listened to the echoes of old mistakes and didn't flinch. She learned to breathe without needing someone else to hand her the oxygen. She didn't conquer loneliness. She befriended it. She named it. She fed it tea and biscuits and listened to its rants until it finally got tired and took a nap. Because that's the real secret of peace. It's not quiet because there's no noise. It's quiet because you stopped being afraid of the noise inside you. The woman who survives peace doesn't do it because she's better, stronger, colder than anyone else. She does it because she learned the two hardest skills in human existence. 1. How to sit with herself without running away. 2. How to let a feeling pass without trying to buy it a sandwich or marry it. Carl Jung would call this individuation, the process of becoming fully yourself without needing a mirror to tell you you exist. Buddhists would call it awakening, the slow, awkward shedding of the mind's noisy illusions. Whatever you call it, it's not glamorous. Some nights it looks like crying into your laundry. Some nights it looks like eating cereal for dinner and feeling oddly proud about it. Some nights it looks like laughing hysterically at a meme about existential dread, because hey, you get it now. Peace isn't sterile. It's wild. It's tender. It's awkward. It's alive. And once you survive it, once you realize you don't need chaos to feel real, you don't need a half-love to feel full, you don't need 100 people clapping to feel seen, you become something the world has no map for. A woman who doesn't just survive her own company, she thrives in it. And once that happens, even loneliness itself starts packing its bags. Part 6. The Ghost Town Phase. Why becoming unreachable is a spiritual graduation. Nobody warns you about the ghost town phase. Nobody says, hey, once you heal, it's gonna get weirdly empty around here. Because after you've cleaned up your emotional house, after you stop being available for half-hearted conversations, codependent friendships, and ghosters who think, hey, stranger, texts are endearing, you might look up and realize the streetlights are still on, but everyone else has quietly left town. At first, you'll panic. Maybe you'll think you did it wrong. Maybe you'll wonder if you were supposed to heal just a little less. Keep just enough dysfunction in your bloodstream to stay relatable. Because silence, real silence, doesn't feel like a reward at first. It feels like punishment. It feels like you've shown up to your own birthday party and even the clown canceled. But here's the Buddhist punchline. Emptiness isn't punishment. It's purification. You're not being abandoned. You're being recalibrated. You're being cleared out like an old temple so something sacred can echo through the halls. Carl Jung said it too, that after every major inner transformation, there's a phase of withdrawal from collective norms. Translation? You're going to feel like a total weirdo for a while. Congratulations. The ghost town phase looks like this. Your phone is suspiciously quiet. Invitations dry up like a cheap lake bed. The people who once needed you like emotional caffeine suddenly act like you moved to another planet. At first, you'll want to fill the void. Call someone, text someone, swipe right until the loneliness stops buzzing in your bones. Don't. Sit. Breathe. Let the silence soak into your skin. Because the ones who only loved your brokenness were never meant to stay for your wholeness. And that's the brutal, beautiful truth. Healing doesn't just cost you your old wounds, it costs you your old company too. Buddhism teaches that emptiness is form, and form is emptiness. In simpler, more hilarious terms, just because your Friday nights look like a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie doesn't mean you're dead inside. It means you're finally alive enough to not settle for background noise disguised as connection. You're not a ghost. You're a guardian of your own soul now. And guardians don't host open houses for just anyone with muddy shoes. So if your life feels eerily quiet, like tumbleweeds could roll through at any minute, celebrate it. You're not losing the world. You're losing the parts of yourself that used to beg for scraps. You're not missing out. You're moving up. This is graduation. And sure, it's a little awkward when the valedictorian speech is just you clapping for yourself. But trust me, the real guests are already on their way. And they're bringing peace, depth, and conversations that don't make you want to fake a heart attack to leave early. Part 7. Choosing yourself is the greatest middle finger to fate, and it's hilarious. You know what really makes the universe raise its cosmic eyebrows? Choosing yourself. Unapologetically, messily, gloriously. Like you're the best damn prize in the room. Not because you're perfect, not because you finally hit 10,000 steps on your Fitbit, not because your therapist gave you a gold star, but just because you exist. You see, we were raised on this very tidy myth. Suffer quietly, wait politely, do enough emotional cartwheels, get rewarded with love, destiny, validation. Like life is some bureaucratic waiting room where if you just hold your ticket long enough, someone will eventually call your number and hand you happiness. Spoiler alert, the universe lost your ticket. It was never coming. And the second you realize that, the second you stop performing, stop auditioning, stop waiting for permission, you basically flip fate, the biggest, sassiest middle finger known to human existence. Buddhism would call this non-attachment. You're not abandoning hope. You're abandoning the hope that someone else will hand you yourself neatly gift-wrapped. Carl Jung would call it individuation. You stop being a character in someone else's story. You become the author. But you know what nobody tells you? Choosing yourself isn't this graceful, Instagrammable, lotus flower on the lake kind of event. It's messy. It's absurd. It feels like being the only person clapping in a room where no one else even knows there was a performance. Choosing yourself looks like leaving on, read the guy who once said, "You're asking for too much," when you asked for basic respect. Spending a Friday night rearranging your furniture just because you can. And maybe crying a little, but still feeling weirdly proud. Saying no to people who mean well, but treat your dreams like a cute hobby they'll get bored of supporting. Choosing yourself is awkward at first, like trying to dance when you've been taught your whole life that only partnered waltzes count. But here's the Buddhist joke hidden inside the chaos. The second you stop trying to chase love, the second you stop trying to earn worthiness, you realize you were standing on the dance floor the whole time. The music never stopped. You just stopped waiting for a partner. And sure, you might look ridiculous. You might look wild. You might be the woman dancing barefoot at the edge of the universe, laughing too loud for polite company. Good. Laugh louder. Because what could possibly be more rebellious, more sacred, than finally deciding, I am enough, without needing to explain it, without needing to earn it, without needing to bargain for it. When you choose yourself, you don't cancel love. You don't shut down hope. You just refuse to cash in your soul for a discount version of connection. And in that moment, the karmic wheel wobbles. The scripts crack. The old cosmic contracts burn in a tiny, defiant flame at your feet. And from the ashes, a life that isn't built on begging, bargaining, or pretending, but on the wild, holy, slightly ridiculous truth. You were always whole. You just had to stop asking broken mirrors to confirm it. Somewhere along the way, someone convinced you that solitude was a punishment. That stillness meant you were missing out. That sitting quietly with yourself was an act of failure, not bravery. But today, maybe something shifted. Maybe you saw that being alone isn't loneliness, it's a kind of alchemy. It's where you stop asking for permission to exist and start living inside your own life fully. Uninvited, unstoppable, and slightly terrifying to the unready. We traveled through some strange and beautiful landscapes today. Ghost towns of old friendships, silent revolutions waged from coffee shops, the radical act of choosing yourself when the world prefers you cling like Velcro. If even a part of you felt seen in these stories, then honor that. Not by rushing to fix yourself, but by sitting a little taller inside your own skin tonight. And if you'd like more reminders that your weird, sacred journey is exactly on track, tap that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment sharing your favorite moment. Or your least favorite. We welcome rebels here. Your support helps our little corner, Buddhist wisdom for the elderly, grow toward our first 1,000 subscribers and keeps us making more wild, holy, darkly funny maps for the road home. Until next time, stay whole, stay inconvenient, stay absolutely, gloriously yours.